The wedding of the year had turned into a slow-burning disaster. The hall was glowing, golden chandeliers, rose petals scattered along the aisle, and guests dressed in elegant African attire. Everything had been planned to perfection, except the one thing no one could control. The bride was missing, Annabelle. Beautiful, graceful, and the woman everyone came to celebrate had vanished. Her phone, switched off, her hotel room, neat and untouched, her dress, still hanging, ironed and ready. Guests began whispering. Some exchanged concerned looks. Others took it as drama. After all, a wedding this grand had to come with suspense, right? Stanley, her groom, stood stiff at the altar in a deep blue agbada, his face unreadable. He forced a smile, answering every question with, "She's on her way." But behind the event hall, in a dim storage room, a janitor paused as he passed a large white coffin, a prop meant for a dramatic cake entrance. He heard it. Thud, thud, thud. He froze, took a step closer, then again. Thud. Inside the coffin, a woman was breathing fast, tears streaking her face. It was Annabelle. She was alive. She was hiding. But from what or who? Peter, the janitor, had worked at the event center for over 12 years, but he had never heard anything like this before. The noise was subtle at first, just a faint tap. He thought it might be a rat or a loose board, but when it came again, louder, sharper, more urgent, he knew something was wrong. Thud, thud, thud. He turned slowly to the white coffin propped in the storage corner, meant to hold the wedding cake for a grand entrance later in the day. Why would anyone or anything be moving inside? With trembling hands, he stepped closer and tapped on the side of the box. "Hello?" he whispered. Silence. Then, another thud, this time frantic, followed by a scratchy whisper. "Help!" Peter staggered back, almost dropping his flashlight. Jesus! He reached for the lid but stopped halfway. What if it was a prank, a setup, or worse, something unnatural? He hesitated, then bolted out of the room. Within seconds, he ran straight into a bridesmaid, Clara, Annabelle's closest friend. "There's someone in the cake coffin," he gasped. Clara frowned. "What?" "I heard it, I swear. Someone's knocking. It sounded like a woman." Clara's eyes widened. Her lipstick quivered. "Wait. Annabelle?" Peter didn't understand, but Clara was already rushing toward the back room. Her heart raced. If Annabelle was in that coffin, why? And what was she hiding from? She didn't want to believe the rumors, but deep down, Clara knew something was terribly wrong. Clara burst into the back room like a woman possessed. The light flickered above her as she rushed toward the white coffin. Her high heels clicked furiously against the tiled floor, matching the pounding in her chest. Peter trailed behind, still shaken. "I told you, something's inside." "Annabelle," Clara called, her voice trembling. "Are you in there?" Silence. She placed her ear gently against the lid. Then, a weak knock. Thud. Clara gasped. It was real. Her fingers fumbled at the edges of the coffin. "I'm opening it," she said aloud, more to herself than anyone else. She didn't care if it was supposed to be a surprise cake reveal later. If her best friend was in there, nothing else mattered. She lifted the lid slowly, and there she was, Annabelle. Makeup ruined, hair messy. Her once flawless white robe was wrinkled. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. "Annabelle," Clara cried. "What the hell are you doing in here?" But Annabelle didn't answer. Her eyes darted toward the door. "Is he out there?" "Who?" Clara asked, stunned. "I shouldn't have come today," Annabelle whispered. "I should have stayed gone." Clara held her arm. "Talk to me. Are you hurt?" Annabelle's hands were ice cold. Her voice shook. "You don't understand. No one does." Peter stood frozen by the door. Clara glanced at him and then back at her friend. "Annabelle, what's going on?" Annabelle's lips trembled, but she said just one thing. "Please, don't tell Stanley I'm here." Back in the main hall, tension was growing like smoke in a closed room. Stanley checked his watch again. The priest cleared his throat. Guests murmured, shifting uncomfortably in their seats. The violinist, unsure whether to stop or keep playing, repeated the same melody for the third time. The bride had been missing for over 40 minutes. Stanley stood at the altar, tall and poised in his richly embroidered agbada. But there was something cold in his eyes, something unsettling. His smile had faded. Now his jaw was clenched. Mark, his best man, leaned in and whispered, "Bro, this is getting embarrassing. Should we call it off?" "No," Stanley said firmly, almost too fast. "She'll come?" "But she's not answering calls. I said she'll come." His tone shut the conversation down. Meanwhile, guests were gossiping freely now. Maybe she ran away. "I heard she had a fight with him last night. Could she be pregnant for someone else? Maybe he's abusive." One woman even asked the priest, "Do you think it's a spiritual attack?" The groom's mother stood, trying to calm the crowd, but nothing was working. Backstage, Stanley made a call. No one picked. He dialed again. Still nothing. He lowered the phone, and for the first time, he looked genuinely worried. Not embarrassed, not confused. Worried. Because Stanley wasn't just missing a bride. Clara sat beside Annabelle on the cold storage room floor, holding her hand like it might fall apart if she let go. "You're scaring me," Clara whispered. "What's going on? You can't just disappear on your wedding day and hide inside a coffin." Annabelle looked down. Her fingers were trembling. Clara squeezed tighter. "Is it Stanley? Did he do something to you?" Annabelle hesitated. Her lips parted like she wanted to speak, but no words came out. Clara leaned in closer. "Did he hit you?" "No," Annabelle finally said, but her voice didn't sound certain. Clara stared at her. "Then what?" A pause, then a soft whisper. "Do you trust me?" Clara blinked. "Of course I do. You're my best friend." "Then don't ask me anything else, just, please, keep me hidden." Clara hesitated, heart torn. She wanted to scream. She wanted answers. But something in Annabelle's eyes made her stop. She nodded slowly. "Okay, I won't tell anyone." Annabelle finally breathed again. Then came a knock on the door. Clara jumped. Peter turned pale. "Who is that?" Annabelle asked, already panicking. The door creaked open. It was Mark, Stanley's best man. Clara froze. "I've been looking for you," he said slowly, staring at Clara. "Stanley wants to know where you are." Clara stood up fast. "I needed a break." Mark's eyes swept the room. "Alone?" Clara smiled nervously. "Yeah, alone." But Annabelle's breath hitched as Mark's footsteps echoed behind the door. He was watching. Mark didn't move. He stood just inside the door, eyes sweeping the room like a hawk. His gaze paused on the white coffin, then shifted to Clara, then Peter. Clara forced a smile. "I just needed to get away from the noise. Clear my head." Mark raised an eyebrow. "You look nervous." She laughed awkwardly. "Weddings do that to me." Peter nodded too quickly. "She was just asking for water. I came to check the taps." Mark stepped further into the room. The lights above flickered again. The silence was heavy, too heavy. "You sure you're okay?" he asked, his voice softer now, suspicious. Clara nodded. "Fine." He looked at the coffin again. "What's that doing here?" "It's for the cake reveal," Peter said. "Event planner left it here for now." Mark squinted. Strange place to leave a coffin. He reached out and ran his hand along the lid. Clara's heart stopped. Inside, Annabelle didn't move a muscle, not even a breath. "I should get back," Mark finally said. "Stanley's losing it." As he turned to leave, he paused at the door. "You know, Stanley doesn't like surprises," he added without turning around. Then he left. The door clicked shut. Clara and Peter exhaled. Inside the coffin, Annabelle finally breathed again. Clara dropped to her knees beside her. "You need to tell me what's going on, please." Annabelle looked at her, eyes wide with dread. "I don't know who to trust anymore," she whispered. Clara leaned in, her voice low but urgent. "Annabelle, this is getting dangerous. That man, Mark, he knew something. He was looking at the coffin like he already suspected it." Annabelle nodded slowly, tears filling her eyes. "I know." Clara's voice cracked. "Then talk to me. Please. I can't help you if you shut me out." Annabelle wiped her face, her fingers shaking. "Clara, something happened 3 nights ago. Something that changed everything. Clara's breath caught. What happened? Annabelle looked away, eyes distant. I went to Stanley's house. I forgot my earrings. He wasn't expecting me. And I saw something I wasn't supposed to see. Clara's mouth parted, waiting, but Annabelle shook her head. Not now, I can't say it yet. I just needed to get away. I didn't know how else to do it. If I disappeared in the open, he'd find me. Clara was trembling now. Are you saying Stanley would hurt you? Annabelle didn't answer, but the silence screamed louder than any words could. Peter looked at them both, confused but concerned. You're saying the groom is dangerous? Before Annabelle could respond, her phone, long thought dead, buzzed. She jumped. A single message glowed on the screen. Where are you? Stanley. Her hands went cold. Clara peeked at the screen. He's looking for you. We need to do something. Annabelle swallowed hard. We do nothing. We wait. For what? Clara asked. Annabelle stared at the door. For the right moment. Clara paced the small room, restless. This isn't going to hold forever. Someone will come back here. We need to sneak you out. Annabelle shook her head. Not yet. I need to see something first. What? My purse. It's in the bridal suite. There's something inside. A letter. Clara narrowed her eyes. A letter? Annabelle nodded. If anything happens to me today, I want you to find it. It explains everything. Clara stared at her, unsettled. What are you not telling me? Annabelle didn't answer. Clara threw her hands up. Annabelle, I love you like a sister, but right now, you're acting like someone who's being hunted, and you won't even tell me by who. Annabelle's voice dropped. Because if I say it out loud, it becomes real, and once it's real, there's no undoing it. Clara opened her mouth to argue, but Peter stepped forward. I can get the purse, he offered. I'll go to the suite and bring it here, quietly. Annabelle looked up at him, surprised by his kindness. Thank you. As Peter left, Clara sat back down, heart racing. You're going to have to tell me soon. Annabelle gave a small nod. Then her phone buzzed again. A picture this time. Her bridal suite empty. Caption, TikTok. Stanley. Clara read it over her shoulder and gasped. He knows you're not there? Annabelle gripped her chest, breath shallow. Clara whispered, What does he want from you? Annabelle finally said it. Control. Peter moved quickly through the hallway, head down, heart thudding. He wasn't supposed to be in the bridal suite, but he knew the security guards. He'd slip in, grab the purse, and be gone. The elevator doors slid open. As he stepped out, he nearly bumped into Stanley. Peter froze. Stanley gave a tight smile. Looking for someone? Peter swallowed. No, sir. Just delivering water for the bridal suite. Stanley tilted his head. That's funny. Thought the bridal suite was empty. Peter shifted his feet. They said someone needed water there. Stanley's eyes narrowed. Who's they? Peter stammered. The maid. Stanley stepped closer, lowering his voice. You know, I hate lies. Peter's throat dried up. Suddenly, Stanley smiled, but his eyes remained cold. Don't let me catch you snooping where you don't belong. He walked past. Peter stood frozen. He knew. Somehow Stanley knew he was lying. He rushed to the suite, grabbed Annabelle's purse, and dashed back to the storage room. Inside, Clara opened the bag immediately and pulled out the letter. It was sealed. Clara looked at Annabelle. Are you sure you want me to open this? Annabelle nodded. If something happens, I need someone to know the truth. Clara's fingers trembled as she broke the seal. She pulled out a single sheet of paper. As she read the first few lines, her face drained of color. Her lips parted in shock. Peter leaned forward. What is it? But Clara couldn't speak. Clara held the letter with both hands, but it felt heavier than anything she had ever touched. Annabelle watched her, eyes brimming. Now you know. Peter looked between them. What does it say? Clara whispered. He's not who we think he is. Who? Peter asked. Stanley, Clara said, barely audible. Peter frowned. The groom? Clara nodded, then turned back to Annabelle. How did you find out? Annabelle looked away, voice trembling. 3 nights ago, I left my earrings at his place. I went back unannounced. His front door was unlocked. I walked in, quietly. The house was silent, but something felt off. Clara sat beside her, urging her gently. Go on. I heard voices from the basement. I thought he was on a call, but when I got closer, I realized he was talking to himself. Peter listened, frozen. He had photos, pictures of women, all dead, notes, details, like he'd studied them, watched them. Clara's hand flew to her mouth. Annabelle continued. And then I saw her, his ex, Tolu, the one he said moved away. Her picture was there, crossed out, like the others. Peter stumbled back. You're saying he's a murderer? Annabelle nodded slowly. And I was going to be his next. Clara's hands were shaking. Why didn't you go to the police? He's protected, rich, respected. He'd deny it. Say I was crazy, or kill me before they believe me. Clara looked down at the letter again, and then they heard it. Footsteps, getting closer. The footsteps grew louder, steadier. Annabelle stiffened. It's him. Clara quickly stuffed the letter back into the purse and kicked it under the table. Peter grabbed a mop and pretended to clean. Annabelle slipped silently back into the coffin, lowering the lid just enough to keep herself hidden. The door opened. Stanley stepped inside. He scanned the room, face calm but eyes sharp. Clara, he said coolly, you've been gone a while. Clara forced a smile. Sorry, just needed air. Stanley's eyes moved to Peter. You too? Peter chuckled nervously. Just mopping, sir. Stanley took a step forward. You know, I've always believed that silence reveals more than words. He glanced around the room, pausing at the coffin. Clara held her breath. Stanley walked toward it, slowly. Funny thing, this coffin. It was supposed to make a statement, but something tells me it already has. He tapped the lid gently with his knuckle. Thud. No sound came from inside. He smiled. Sometimes I feel like I'm being watched, judged. He turned to Clara. Do you think I'm a good man? Clara blinked. I think you're a complicated man. Stanley's smile twitched. Fair answer. He turned and walked to the door. Then he stopped. You'll both come out when the wedding resumes. It's starting soon. He left. As soon as the door shut, Annabelle rose from the coffin, trembling. Clara whispered, We can't let this wedding happen. Annabelle nodded, and for the first time, her eyes were filled not with fear, but fury. The wedding hall was silent again, but for a different reason this time. Stanley stood at the altar, straight-faced, hands clasped. His eyes searched the crowd, waiting, expecting. Behind him, Mark whispered something, but Stanley didn't react. Then the music began to play again. The doors at the back opened slowly, and Annabelle stepped in, alive, composed, dressed in her gown, her face unreadable. A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Stanley's eyes widened, but just for a moment. Then that signature smirk returned. She walked slowly, every step like thunder. Clara and Peter followed behind her, and in Clara's hands was the letter. Annabelle climbed the altar steps and took her place beside him. Finally, Stanley whispered, You scared me. Annabelle stared at him. That was the plan. Before the priest could speak, Clara stepped forward and raised her hand. I'm sorry, but this wedding can't continue, she said clearly, because the bride has something to say. Stanley's smile faltered. Clara, don't do this. Annabelle turned to the crowd. I disappeared this morning for a reason, and I'll tell you all why now, publicly, where he can't hurt me. She took the letter from Clara's hand and held it up. I found evidence that Stanley is a serial predator. I saw what he's done. I saw who he silenced, and I was next. Gasps, screams. The priest stepped back. Stanley turned pale. Suddenly, police officers emerged from the crowd. It was over. As Stanley was led away, Annabelle exhaled deeply. She saved herself before anyone else could. The moral lesson of this story is that when silence becomes survival, speaking out becomes power. Never ignore your instincts. They could save your life.